Have you ever walked into a huge office, or maybe a library or a school, and just wondered how on earth they manage hundreds of computers without complete chaos? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the really clever, super efficient tech that makes it all work. We're breaking down exactly how these things called thin clients connect to their servers. Let's dive right in.
Okay, to get started, let's just try a little thought experiment. Imagine, what if the computer sitting on your desk wasn't really a computer? What if it was just a simple, quiet little box, basically a window to a much more powerful machine hidden away somewhere else? Now that might sound a little bit like science fiction, but it's the core idea we're going to explore today.
So why would anybody even want a computer that, outsources all of its thinking? Well, to answer that, we first have to get our heads around the massive headache that comes with the old, traditional setup. This is what a lot of people in IT call the desktop dilemma.
Right, so just imagine for a second that you're in charge of IT for a big company. You've got hundreds, maybe even thousands of desktop PCs you have to take care of. And every single one is its own little island, right? It's got its own software that needs updating, its own security risks you have to patch, and its own hardware that could fail at any moment. It's a total logistical nightmare. And believe me, it is incredibly expensive to keep all that running.
But what if you could manage all of those little computer islands from one single central command center? Well, that's exactly where this smarter approach comes in, and it is a complete game changer for anyone in IT.
And here it is, the thin client. So like the definition says, it's a simple, kind of stripped-down computer. It doesn't have a big, noisy hard drive, and it has very little processing power of its own. Its one and only job is to connect to a super powerful central server that does all of the heavy lifting.
And this slide gives you a great side-by-side look. A traditional PC, which we sometimes call a fat client, is totally self-sufficient. It does all its own thinking, it stores all its own data. But a thin client, it's a team player. It relies completely on the server for its brains and its memory. It's basically just a portal to access the server's real power.
Okay, here's a really simple way to think about it. Imagine a busy restaurant. The powerful server? That's the kitchen. It's got all the chefs, all the ingredients, all the equipment, the whole shebang. The thin client on your desk? That's your waiter. You tell the waiter what you want, like, hey, open a web browser, and they just pass that order along to the kitchen. The kitchen does all the hard work, and the waiter simply brings you the finished dish. See? Simple, right?
So we've covered the what. Now let's get into the how. How does that waiter actually talk to the kitchen? Let's break down the 4 key steps that make this connection happen. It's actually pretty slick.
It's this surprisingly fast 4-step dance. First, you hit the power button on the thin client. It boots up this tiny, minimal operating system in just a few seconds. Then step 2, its only mission in life is to find its partner, that central server on the network. Third, you log in with your username and password. The server checks to see who you are and makes sure you've got access. And finally, here's the magic moment. The server streams your entire personalized desktop right to your screen. It feels exactly like you're using a normal PC, but the whole thing is being broadcast from somewhere else.
Okay, so that's what's happening on your end of the deal, but what is the server doing this whole time? Let's flip the script for a minute and see what's going on from the server's very busy perspective.
This thing is the command center. The server isn't just running your desktop, it's a master multitasker. It's running desktops for dozens, maybe hundreds of other people all at the same time. It's a digital powerhouse, just juggling every single app, every file, and every connection from one central hub.
And this chart gives us a little peek into that powerhouse's busy day. See this big slice here for user sessions? That's the server making sure your desktop and everyone else's is running smooth as silk. This chunk over here, application processing, that's the raw horsepower needed to run Word or Photoshop or whatever software you're using. And these other pieces, data storage and security, they're the foundation, keeping everything safe and easy to get to. It's a really finely tuned balancing act.
Okay, so the tech is pretty cool. I get it. But what's the real-world impact? Why does any of this matter? Well, it all comes back to solving that big desktop dilemma we were talking about at the very beginning.
So the biggest, most obvious win is the cost. I mean, just look at the difference on this chart. The annual cost for a thin client is just a fraction of what you'd pay for a traditional PC. And why is that? Well, the hardware itself is way cheaper, they use a lot less electricity, and because they don't have moving parts like fans or hard drives, they last for years longer. For a company with, say, 500 people, that can literally mean saving hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And hey, it is not just about the money. Security is way tighter because all your important data lives on one professionally managed server, not on 100 different laptops that could get lost or stolen. Upgrades? They're a piece of cake. You update the software on the server once and boom, 1,000 users are instantly up to date. It's just simpler to manage, and it's so much better for the environment. It's really a win-win-win situation.
So, where's all this heading? I mean, think about it. When you stream a movie on Netflix or you work on a Google Doc, you're actually using a thin client model. Your device, your phone or your laptop, is just a window to a powerful server somewhere out there in the cloud. As we move more and more of our lives online, are all our devices kind of becoming thin clients in their own way? Is the future of computing not in the box on our desk, but in that vast, invisible network of the cloud? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.